Hope you all are doing well today. I'm super delighted to be on your screen today. I want to say um, a very big thank you to everybody that have joined us today. Let me quickly know where you're joining this live session from, and then we'll be discussing something very important. The essence of this broadcast is to open you to to have a clear understanding of how the Ibeju Lekki work, and we'll be talking about that very quickly. So, in case you're coming across today's um, live session, please do well to subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and let's get you started. All right, so this episode, I'm going to be talking about um, the Elerangbe axis of Ibeju Lekki, and today I'll be saying a lot. There's a lot I'll be saying today, but I am going to try as much as I can to be as direct as possible. And also, I will be explaining the facts, the opportunities, as well as um, investments. So, in case you're coming across this video for the first time, this is Property Matters live session. In case you are joining us, I want to say a very big thank you for joining us. Um, okay, all right. So please, I also want to go live on Facebook. I apologize for this sudden break. So I'll be going live very quickly. All right. All right. So I'm also live on Facebook. Now, today's episode talks about the shocking truth about the Elerangbe axis of Ibeju Lekki, and the reason why this location is of utmost importance is because of the fact that I want every real estate investors to have a thorough understanding of real estate investment. And secondly, I would also want people to understand what are the basic rudiment terminologies as well as that. So recently, I discovered that a lot of uh, attention have been shifted to the Elerangbe axis. There's been a lot of publicity, and I also noticed that a lot of people are putting on good adverts. And the most important of all, basically, of will I say, the shocking part of it is that many people don't seem to have an accurate understanding of some of the dangers. Please just give me a minute. So many people don't have an understanding of some of the dangers, um, as well as the challenges. So I will be talking about that. This video is going to be in parts. Fortunately, I may not be able to go further, but I will be explaining some of the things that you will learn in the course of this video. So please, if you have your friends, your family, your loved ones who has the intention of investing in this region, please tell them to join this live session. And of course, we're also going to be leaving this video on our channel. So even if you miss it, you can always, revisit it and look at this. So there's been a lot of attention grabbing, publicity about the Elerangbe axis. Now, the first question I'll be asking, okay, because what actually prompted this live session was I got some series of questions when we were doing a lot of due diligence. So I'll be looking at that very quickly. So the first thing I'll be talking about is Elerangbe a good location for real estate investment? What are the prospects? Now, let me start by saying the Lekki Havana Phase 2 bungalow is located in Elerangbe axis, and so there are notable real estate development projects also there. And is it a good real estate investment? Kudos to the management of Xylos Homes. Information reaching us made us realize that they were the one that had, the Elerangbe Road right from the Elerangbe Express, from the proposed, from the ongoing Lekki Epe Express down to site, even beyond the site. So kudos to them. Now, the road network that was recently done in the Elerangbe opened that area, because you see, one of the things you must understand if you are investing in Lagos, in the Lagos State real estate market, is that whenever there's a road network, the facility like that opens that area to massive investment opportunities. So that road blew up that region, because Elerangbe has been like that for years, and the road network has been, one of the most discouraging factor. And ever since the road network, and of course, the Lekki Havana Phase Two bungalow came into that Elerangbe axis, that kind of blew up that location and made it a particular area of interest. So, is it a good location for investment? Yes, it is a very, very good location for investment. You also need to understand that it's sharing close proximity to Lekki, the proposed Lekki International Airport, and some other notable development. So it is a good real estate investment destination. So that is point number one. Now, point number two basically is that if you are investing in that Elerangbe exit for immediate return, then you also need to understand that you may end up to be disappointed. Disappointed in the sense that if you should study the migration pattern of people, investors, residents in that axis, you notice that the migration pattern there is very slow, and that is based on the fact that we have a lot of local residents who are still, in this Elerangbe axis, and that have, kind of made that area very slow. Despite the fact that there's a road network, the area is still, grappling with some, infrastructural challenges. Presently, there is no functional electricity in Elerangbe. Of course, there is no functional healthcare center or healthcare. Most of those malls, those supermarkets, those, gym and clubhouse are not there. So I would say basically that Elerangbe is an emerging location, and if your intention is to get, good return 2 3 4 years, then you might definitely want to look at other alternatives. Does that mean it's not a good location? It is a good location for an investor who is willing, to be patient as development unfolds in that region. So that place is not for immediate return, but will it blow up? Yes, might. And the opening up of that Elerangbe is strongly based on two major factors. Now, there is a construction of a regional road that will be coming up in that Elerangbe axis. So, how the road network will be done, or when the road network will be done, is what I don't know at the moment. But there's going to be a construction of the regional road network, which may start anytime soon, but it's in the pipeline. So when exactly it's going to start is what we don't know. So if you are investing in the Elerangbe axis for immediate return, then you need to understand that as expensive as that place may seem, it is very important that you pay attention to that. Then number three, let's talk about the status of lands in the Elerangbe axis. Now, there is this general perception that when a land has a government allocation, it is 100% safe, and most of the lands that we have. So I'm going to be talking. This is taking me to point number three, talking about the title. Okay, the title of properties in the Elerangbe Agri. So there's this general assertion that government allocation secures your land, it secures your property. Now, so I've had this kind of discussion or this kind of argument with some real estate investor and the like. So today, the topic is the shocking truth about Elerangbe axis. So the point basically is that where do I start from? Now, I don't want to seem like I am spoiling other people's markets, or I'm trying to spread information that will cause panic and anxiety. I definitely am not doing that because of that, but I'm just going to let you know the truth. Now, larger part of Elerangbe falls under government allocation, and the allocation that was given basically were lands that were at some point collected from people. So whoever is doing development in Elerangbe, or whoever has settled in Elerangbe that is selling property in Elerangbe, were not, the original um, owners of that property. So what I'm trying to say basically is that they've been some numerous development in that Elerangbe axis. I've been going to Elerangbe axis as far back as 2021. I can tell you basically that there were some people who were in that Elerangbe axis who owned land, and due to some circumstances that I would not definitely want to go into because of our time, they lost their lands. And I do a lot of people have given. Hello, you're making noise. Hello, Ambe. So based on some of the circumstances like that, they lost their lands, and some people bought it directly from government. Now, so what I'm trying to say in essence basically is that So what I'm trying to say in essence basically is that there were people who settled, in the Elerangbe axis. So the present settlers were not the previous one. Now, a lot of people have asked me questions. Now, the people that their lands were taken and were resold, are they going to fight back? Are they going to take government to court? Well, I am definitely not in a better position to tell you what will happen, but I can just tell you basically that the set of development that we have in the Elerangbe axis were not, the first set of settlers. So you must also know that. That is point number 3. Now I'm taking you now to point number 5, because I'm going to be as very fast, as quick as possible, so that you can have an accurate understanding of what is unfolding in that area. Now, the next point that I will also want to do, or the next shocking truth that I would need you to understand basically is that not all lands in Elerangbe axis falls under government allocation. So you need to have an accurate understanding that yes, larger percentage of lands in Elerangbe have government allocation, but there are larger percent that doesn't fall under government allocation. Now, when we talk about government allocation, there's something I think I've discussed this in one of my videos, where I was explaining some things that you need to understand. And one of those things basically is that a government allocation, as a good title as it may seem, there's something you need to know. The first thing you need to know basically is that the people who collected this allocation, or the investors whose name, okay, that are on this allocation, okay, are kind of diverse. Now, I'm looking for a better phrase to explain this, because I don't want to put a lot of people under fear or something. I'm just going to say this the way it is. Now, a lot of people have asked me a question, that what exactly is the difference between a government allocation title and a C of O? And I have tried as much as I can, to explain some dichotomy or some some aspects. Now, when we talk about a government allocation, when you buy land directly from government, okay, an allocation is given in that regard. Now, because of the fact that for some people who have that allocation, what I'm saying can be verified, what I'm saying can be, you can go further to, to authenticate some of the information I've been given. Now, let's say, for instance, there's 50 acres of land, and the developer wants to buy the land from government. There's an amount of money that government charges for these acres, and for you to get a C of O, you have to pay up the amount of money that government is requesting for those acres. Let's say, for instance, I want to pay 50 acres of land. I want government to give me an allocation. After government have done their due diligence, they've done their assessment, they've verified, and I've paid all the necessary taxes, I've gotten all the necessary documents. Now government will tell me, let's assuming that the amount of money to get an allocation is assumption. I'm not saying that is the exact amount that is being paid for government. Let's say the exact amount is 250 million to get an allocation for 50 acres of land. It's an assumption. I'm just making a case study here because I don't want to be misquoted. Now, if 250 million is the amount of money that I will use to buy up the land. Now, I'm an investor, okay? I don't have the entire 250 million. I can say, okay, fine, Lagos State government, let us enter an agreement, okay? So the agreement basically comes in such a way that, okay, fine, let me pay 100 million, give me access, okay, to this property. Are we together, please? So government will say, okay, fine, we will give you access to this property, okay. So one of the major assurance, that we guarantee that you have paid us for this property, okay, is that we will give you an allocation. Are we together? So after government issue an allocation that I've paid for this property, remember that I only paid like maybe 60% of the total fee. So an allocation is given. Now, if I sell the land and I was able to balance up, are we together? And I was able to balance up, the fee, okay, for the entire 50 acres, then government will now give a C of O. And that is why, okay, that most of the allocations or the new lands that we have there comes with government allocation C of O. Because you see, the first document you get when you start buying lands in Lagos, if you have paid for some portion of the land, is what? Is allocation. So when you have done with the total payment, the allocation becomes a C of O. So in the process of paying, if you have not made the total payment for the 50 acres, an allocation is given. And if you don't pay up, now a lot of people have asked that what if the person that is selling to me did not pay up? Now I'm going to give a simple scenario of a land dispute that I'm totally aware of in the community in Ibeju Lekki. If I should mention the name of this community, it will ring a bell, and I obviously don't want to go into that. Now it's a similar situation like this. So what happened basically was that the king of this community wanted to get a gazette on the property. Okay, so an extension was given first. Okay, and the government said, okay, fine, the total amount of money that you're going to pay for us to gazette this land, I think at that time was 300 million as at that time. Okay. Now what happened basically was that I was told that the king of that community, made some payments, and due to some circumstances that were not projected or for unforeseen circumstances, the king was unable to make a balanced payment of the 300 million. Now, information reaching us basically was that the king has sold almost total expanse of land. Now, when the time for the king to remit the money to government, he was unable to do so. What now happened as a result of that was that government was forced to pause and suspend the title. Now, if you are buying a property in Lagos, if you have an experienced surveyor and they've conducted their due diligence in a way and manner that they need to do, they would have discovered that in the process of trying to verify the authenticity of some of the property documents that's being projected, they will find out that when they chat, they will find out that some areas are reading suspension. Now, in cases like that, whenever a land information of a particular location is reaching suspension, it's a clear indicator that government had to suspend the title because the principal or the people that paid for that property did not pay the full amount. So what I'm trying to say is that there are some places that they are going to chat in this Elerangbe axis that the report will read suspension. And that is why if you are buying or you are investing in this region, it is very important that you are very careful. Now, the way the real estate market works basically is that the industry is an attention grabbing industry. And because of the fact that we have gone way deeper, Now, somebody was asking me a question yesterday that I think I got a recommendation from someone in the US, and the woman sent me a message and said, "Hi, Ade, you are doing a fantastic job. I really, really appreciate some of these things." And I think the recommendation came because of some of the work that we're doing. Now, in Elerangbe, most of the allocations are still pending. Allocation does not equate C of O. It is when payment for the parcel of land has been given that the allocation becomes a C of O. Now, is government allocation a good title? Yes, it is a good title. Now, what you must now do in scenarios like this is to work with a reputable development company. Overlook the hype, overlook the publicity, overlook the packaging, and face reality. One thing I've come to discover basically is that in an area where there is sudden attention, where attention of some development companies are going there, where it seems like there's a competition for that area, from history, we have found out that such locations turns out to be a disaster. Okay, now it turns out to be a disaster not because government wants it to be a disaster, but it's due to the fact that people overdo things, and this is why it is very important. Now, let me recreate some of the facts that I have listed. Is the area a fantastic location? Yes, it is. Is the area an hotspot for real estate investment? Yes, it is. But if you are investing, you need to understand the power of the title. Now, when we talk about land title, there is a generalization of what it is not portraying. Now, a lot of people have said, if I have this title, I can go and sleep. Now, because of the fact that policies are changing on a regular basis in Lagos, there are some titles that you cannot go and sleep. Now, the reason why I'm saying this basically was that there was a particular time in the history of real estate that if you have excision as a title, you can go and sleep. But right now, because of some unforeseen circumstances and conflict of interest, there was now a demand for you to go beyond excision and secure higher titles. So when you are investing in locations that are, more importantly, in a location where you discover that government interest is noticeable, then you cannot afford not to pay attention to some of the things I have listed. Going forward, what must you do? Now, if you are waiting, okay, for people or for government to perfect the title, okay, the prices of your desired choice or your choice of property may increase. However, if it is a must for you to invest in this location, the first thing you must do basically is that work with reliable company. Now, in Lagos, I have said this before, and I'm going to say it again. With my years of experience, I have come to understand that people who tend to professes integrity don't even seem to have an accurate understanding of what integrity really means. I've seen real estate developers sell properties instead of using the proceeds of the properties to give value to people who have bought. These guys have in turn used this property to secure properties abroad. And if you have noticed, if you are very, very observant, you would have realized that this is now becoming a norm or a repeated pattern of error in the industry. And that is why it is very important for you to identify people who are performer than ordinary noisemakers. In this industry, there are people that are noisemakers. And that is why it is very important that you look beyond branding, you look beyond publicity, and focus on what really matters. And what is the matter? What really matters when you're investing in Lagos, not just Elerangbe, the intention of the developer. See, it has become extremely difficult for us to understand who is good and who is bad, because in our Lagos state real estate market, everybody hides under the umbrella of we have integrity, we are going to do this development, we are going to do that, and on the long run many people end up being disappointed. So if you must deal with a real estate developer, you must deal with a developer that have the intention of what, of doing the right thing. And how do you know, or how can you identify a real estate developer that will do the right thing? Now, I am a fan of this particular statement, and I'm going to say it as I'm going to be as plain as possible. The Lagos industry is very, very tricky. The industry is saturated. Please hold on. Egbe butter, egbe butter, egbe butter, egbe butter. Ẹ jẹ́ kó lọ ṣe yín ta. The industry is very, very tricky. The industry is filled with lies, manipulations, and some other things. And that is why it is very important that you don't buy ordinary empty promises. Now, if you are investing in the Elerangbe axis, verify and vet who you are buying from. It is very important. Verify and vet who you are buying from, so that we won't be repeating the same mistake of what happened in Ibeju Lekki many years ago. The Folu axis and what some people are perpetuating in other locations in Lagos. Prioritize integrity. Now, how do you know a developer with ulterior motives? Number one, you can know a developer with ulterior motives the moment the developer is lying about the title. Now, when we talk about government allocation, it is a very fantastic title document. It is a fantastic title document, but it doesn't end there. It is a fantastic title document. So, what must you now do? Number one, I apologize. Okay, apologize for that. Now, when we talk about the moment a developer lies about a title on his property, that one is a clear indicator that the developer does not mean well. And that is why sometimes one of the things I've stopped doing basically is to follow the crowd when it comes to property investment. I know how tricky. Now let's look at the location. Average title documents now, government allocation document from Alausa is above 10 million naira. So that's why you see some companies selling 28, selling 29, selling 30. Now that is due to the fact that it is because of Eti Krombe. That is a result of the fact that the cost of government allocation is very expensive from Alausa. So one of the things you must understand basically is that most of the government allocation title, by the time you are verifying the authenticity, may not come in the name of the developer that is selling to you. I'm going to say this again. Now, if you are buying a government allocation, because what is happening in the Elerangbe axis is that the privileged real estate developers who could afford to acquire large expanse of land with the government allocation have bought. And out of their generosity or out of their business minded person that they may choose to sell the government allocation title to other real estate developers. Now, one thing you must now do basically is that you need to understand that when a developer buys a title document from whether it's fellow developer or from Omulile or from government, the moment the title is not in the name of the developer, government at that moment still recognizes, okay, still recognizes the person whose name is on the previous title as the actual owner of that property. So what the developer needs to do is to do a deed of assignment indicating the transfer of that deed. And in most cases, it is very important that that developer register the deed with government to notify them that they have bought. Now, the problem I have with some real estate development company is that many of them don't perfect their title, and this is why we have a lot of problems about like so because in the process of trying to do your own personal documentation to perfect it, issues like this comes up. Now, there's a scenario of a real estate company that sold a portion of land to a good client of mine. I was not the one that sold anyway. So when they sold the land, there was no title. So they bought from someone, okay, and because of the fact that they didn't do, because you see when you're acquiring property in Lagos, as far as Lagos is concerned, there are some procedures that must be followed if you don't want to have issues. Now, a lot of people have said we have approached government for building approval, it was declined. Okay, we approached government for a governor's consent and it was declined. So today I'm going to be explaining why people find it extremely difficult to get building approvals, to get all the necessary approvals, and to also perfect their title. Now, the reason why it has become extremely difficult for people to perfect their titles or get all the necessary approval is that the people, the vendor, the seller of that property that has been sold to that investors have failed to do the proper documentation, so that you will not be having similar situations like this in the future. That is why I'm explaining some of these things to you so that you can know what to ask for, what to prepare your mind as you buy. So as it's not just about buying, okay, the documentation has to be perfect in the sense that whoever is selling a government allocation title to you must present a corresponding deed signed and registered that shows that they have followed the written process of the law in acquiring that property, and government is aware of that transaction. It is as important as that. So it is when they've done that, that's when you should buy. Because you see, if there's a need for you to secure approvals in the future, these are some of the documents that government is going to ask. So I was giving this example of a client of mine that I know. He bought a property many years ago from a company on the mainland, and he has built on that property. Now, because of the fact that the Lagos State government has now extended, their approval ultimatum, days of grace for people to get their approvals. Now, this particular man approached the Lagos state government to get a governor's consent title. And when he took the document that was given by the company he bought from, he found out that the document was not sufficient. So he was mandated to go back, to the company to get a letter of consent, a letter of consent from the persons that government initially allocated that land to. They actually have to tell him that it is until when that letter of consent is given that it can process his documentation. Till today, right now, it's like a tug of war. We cannot locate the company that the government allocates that consent to. So these are the minor. See, the moment you ignore all these little things in your real estate transaction, there will be problem. There will be problem because you see, despite the fact that the area is noticeable, the area is nice, the area is promising, okay, I'm not disputing that fact, but we must also understand, okay, that the moment documentation has issues, there will be problem. So these are some of those things. So in other words, what I'm trying to say is that if you must buy from a developer that is ready to do proper documentation. Now, this is not a matter of this one is selling cheaper, this one is selling more. In fact, the prices at which they are selling is not even a total guarantee that they're going to do the right thing. It's not a total guarantee, it's not a total assurance. And one of the reasons why I have not decided to, take a brief pause in marketing or giving investment advices or property recommendation to some certain set of people is due to the fact that, apology, why I've refused, to be giving investment advisories and some of that thing is due to the fact that some real estate developer. Let me take this call. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Who is it?
It's from Mommy Dara. They say I should come to Ibeju tomorrow that you meet me there.
Ah, I'm not around tomorrow. I'm not around tomorrow. I told them Monday. Ah,
Monday.
uh,
Okay.
all right. Thank you. Tomorrow, okay. Apologies for that. So, who should you buy from? My question is, this is why you have to consult widely. Buy only from a developer that is ready to do the proper documentation. This is not a case of I'm coming, I'm selling for this price, I'm selling for this price. Now, let in the next 5 minutes that I have on this live stream, so I'm going to quickly explain the criterias of selecting a developer in the Elerangbe axis. Almost everybody has a government allocation. Is it a fantastic title? Yes, it is, but it is not the final bus stop. So the first thing you must do basically is that a developer that is selling allocation that is not willing to perfect to a C of O is not a good developer to buy from. Number one. If I'm giving you a government allocation, is either the developer is ready to buy, is ready to perfect to C of O, or you, the buyer, you're ready to perfect to C of O. Now, will government come and collect your land because you don't have a C of O? No, they will not. Will government seize your land, or will you have problem with title documentation if you do not do the C of O? You will not. However, the most important thing that I need you to understand is that if another government comes into power and begins to revisit the title documentation, okay, what will save you basically is if your developer has done what they need to do. That's what we call a case of waiver. That's how we can say some people will be affected and some people will not be affected. So what we need to understand as far as investing in Lagos entails is that you must be ready to buy from a developer who is willing and ready to do the right thing. in terms of documentation. That is number one. So, how can I understand or how can I tell if a developer is willing and ready to do the right thing? The first thing is the documents that will be issued when you purchase. Now, it's quite sad, and I'll say this without any fear of contradiction or anything, is that some people are investing in Lagos and they are ignorant of some important things. And I'm going to quickly say this for the fact that a developer gives you a deed of assignment or a register or a survey, okay, does not necessarily mean you have the total document to prove your ownership. However, only a deed is a proof of ownership, but a deed of ownership that carries weight is a deed of ownership that has been registered with government. That's number one. So, in some cases, I've seen some real estate developer that will not just give you an ordinary deed, will give you a signed and registered deed. So, look, I'll identify them and work with them. That's point number one. Point number two, you also need to understand the developer's intention for development. I, I'm a real estate investor. I'm an investor too. I have properties in Ibeju Lekki, I have in Epe, I have in Ijebu, I have in Ogun State, probably to get in Ibadan way as God gives me grace to do so. And I can tell you basically that the earliest form of investment I did in my life was a mistake, a total mistake. And the reason why it was a mistake basically is that I was deceived by people whose integrity is nothing to write home about. Some of my earliest form of properties that I bought in my life are today places that if I really, really cherish my life, I won't even dare not to talk of going there. You know, the funny thing is that the developers that sold to us today, they are still working freely, and everything seems normal, like nothing is happening. So when I come online to make videos, passionate videos, warning people to be careful, I'm not just saying this because I want to be talking. I'm saying it from practical experience of what has happened to me. So if I tell you this is what you should do, this is what you should do, take it out of somebody who is passionate and who doesn't want you to throw away money. Because when I started out in real estate, I wasted a lot of money. And I've learned the hard way. So the kind of developer you should also avoid in the Bejuleki axis is a developer that just want to sell land and go away. If you are investing and the intention of the developer is just to sell land, make money, and leave that location, see, you don't need a soothsayer or a fortune teller to tell you that when you are ready to use the land, you have problem. I'm giving these instances with some companies that after they collected money from us and we had issues on the properties, we kept on calling and calling and calling. And in fact, the annoying thing was that they saw our call and they didn't pick it. So in some people say I have been duped. When they say duped, it's not only a scenario whereby your maybe a relative collected money from you and they did not deliver, or we have been duped because the developer that sold for us, when we needed him to come and authenticate and be there to show those omonile that he bought from them, they were nowhere to be found. So be mindful of developers who are only there for their personal profits. I beg you in God's name, be mindful. Be mindful. And sometimes you really need to look beyond the rhetorics, the linguistics, the oratory, the flashy videos, the drone, You need to look beyond that. And that is why it is very important that working with a developer that has a track record of good development is very important. Very, very important. Look at what Amen City is doing. Oh my God. Look at what Amen City is doing. As far as Ibeju Lekki is concerned, other okay, forgive me if I did not mention some of your name. I might have forgotten and probably remember before I did a round of this session. As far as Ibeju Lekki is concerned, forget the price they're selling. They are the best. Amen Phase 1 is livable. Amen Phase 2 is livable. Amen Phase 3 is almost livable. And presently, right now, there's construction in Tiara Phase 1. Those are the kind of developers. See, these people have showed consistency in their development. So those are the kind of developers you should look out for. Because you see, some people are selling Ibeju Lekki with a mindset that it will take 5, 6 years to develop. And when that development comes, the people that promise you 24 hours electricity, drainage, and every other thing, as at that 5 years time, might have not might have even forgotten that they sold properties to you. So it is very important. So if you must invest in the Elerangbe axis, go for developers with suitable and credible and verifiable track record. These things will save you losses of the property I bought after a few years has been abandoned. A lot of people have reached out to me. Hey, this particular company is selling at a very, very cheap rate, a lot of very cheap rate. It's not about the pricing, it's about the continual development of what you have bought. Yes, other developers that are trying Xylos, wonderful, Veritasi, awesome. Please, in case I forgot names, that doesn't mean that others are not trying. So I've seen good developers coming in, young developers in the Bejuleki axis. Because you see, the reason why you have to price the track record and integrity of the developer is that government interest is there. So if a developer that is selling to you does not have the intention of proper documentation, does not have the intention, this is my daughter. Say hello. Hello. Good evening. Good evening. So just stay with mommy, okay? That is coming, okay? Good girl. So if the developer does not have a good track record, why? Government interest is very, very noticeable in that area. So that's why you cannot afford to just buy from anyone. So it's not about the pricing, it's not about the publicity, it's about the what? The integrity. So these are the truth that you need to know. So that in 5 years' time, it will not become a situation whereby you find it extremely difficult to even locate the property you paid for. Daddy, right. I'm working. My watcher. Gloria, wá bá ń gbọ́ ọmọdé. Bá mi paná. Pa TV, pa TV. Wá bá ń pa fáànù yìí. Oh my God, I need to call it a wrap because of our inverter. So I'm going to be taking just 5 minutes um to take questions. Okay, Mr. Okay, Mr. Okay, so now the reason why I am making this passionate appeal, some people, someone said, why you just carry this thing for head? It's because I've seen dishonesty among some set of people. Ibejuleki is promising. Ibejuleki carries a great potential. Ibejuleki is the Dubai of Africa. Ibejuleki is going to become a good thing. But a good investment with a bad developer in Ibejuleki can be a nightmare. Now, I'm going to be talking by the special grace of God. Tomorrow is Saturday. I'll be out tomorrow. So I'm going to be doing a video that talks about how to avoid bad developers. You see, one of the reasons why you have to stick to this channel is that I'm going to be doing a lot of unveiling, where you will understand so many things. Okay, where you understand so many things. Okay, so by the special grace of God, on Tuesday, I'm going to have another live session where I'm going to be talking about more about Elerangbe. And about that Elerangbe, I'm going to be diving deeper into how to unravel a fraudulent documentation. Okay, I'm also going to be talking extensively on why some titles were revoked in the Elerangbe axis. So there might be possibility of um, people revoting government decision. We'll be looking at that, and we'll be talking about three important areas to avoid in the Elerangbe axis. So this is where I'm going to be drawing today's curtain. I want to start by saying a very big thank you to everybody that joined this live session. I don't take your presence for granted. Thank you very much. Of course, I'll be dropping a massive video on Sunday by the special grace of God. And I can't wait to see you all on Tuesday. Bye for now.